All right, let's talk about something really interesting. This idea that true wealth, well, it isn't loud or flashy. It's actually built quietly, in the day-to-day choices we all make. So today, we're going to break down the exact mindset that actually leads to real, genuine financial freedom.
So, let's kick things off with this paradox that I'm sure you've seen before. On one hand, you've got this person with a massive income, but they look totally stressed out, just completely overwhelmed. And then on the other hand, you have someone making a much more modest salary, but they seem, well, they're calm. They're in total control. So how on earth is that possible?
I mean, what is the real difference here? It can't just be about the size of their paycheck, right? There has to be something else going on. What is it that truly separates these two completely different experiences?
Well, the answer probably isn't what you'd expect. It's really not about luck, and it's not about being some kind of genius either. It boils down to three things and only three things: mindset, discipline, and strategy. That's it, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Okay, so this brings us to the first big foundational idea. It's a shift in thinking that honestly changes everything. It's this: wealth isn't really about what you earn. It's all about this core principle of retention, what you keep. And this completely redefines the goal, doesn't it? True wealth isn't just the number on your paycheck. It's about how much of that you actually keep, how you protect what you've kept, and then how you redirect it so it can grow. That's the real measure of wealth. And this is so important to understand. If you've got bad financial habits, a bigger income doesn't fix them. It just makes the problem worse. Think of it like pouring more water into a leaky bucket. The leaks just get bigger, right? Without discipline, a huge salary can actually feel more like a curse than a blessing.
Okay, so if keeping our money is the goal, then what's stopping us? Let's talk about the two main villains in this story, these silent wealth drains that are pretty much always working against your financial freedom.
There's this quote that just nails it perfectly. Appearance is expensive, freedom is not. Man, that says it all, doesn't it? And it sets up our first major wealth drain perfectly.
So here's the breakdown. We're pretty much always making a choice between symbols and substance. Symbols, that's the flashy stuff, right? A fancy car that looks amazing but comes with a monster car payment and crazy insurance. Substance, on the other hand, is something like, say, taking a course to learn a new skill that could boost your earning power down the line. One is a constant drain, and the other, that's a direct investment in your own freedom.
All right, so that's the first big trade. Let's move on to the second one. This one is way more subtle, but believe me, it is just as powerful. And that force is depreciation.
So, how exactly does this thing attack your wealth? Well, first off, the item itself just loses value over time, like a car the second you drive it off the lot. Second, if you finance it, you're basically borrowing from your future opportunities. And third, that debt creates friction. It just acts like an anchor, slowing down any real growth. It's like a triple thread working against.
Okay, that's enough doom and gloom about the problems. Let's pivot and talk about the solutions. How do you actually build a financial fortress to protect yourself from these drains? Well, it really comes down to mastering two power tools for growth.
And the first power tool. This might be one of the most important concepts in all of personal finance, and it's so simple. It is all about creating margin. And here's exactly what that looks like. Margin is simply the gap between your income and your spending. And listen, this is not about feeling restricted or deprived. It's about intentionally creating breathing room. That gap, that is your stability. It's your safety net. It's the launch pad for everything you want to do in the future. This is literally where freedom is built.
Okay, so if margin is the space, or maybe the fuel, our second power tool, discipline, is the engine. It's the thing that actually drives growth inside that space. It's what turns all that potential into actual reality. So how does it work in the real world? It's simple, really. It all starts with one small, smart choice. Just one. Then you repeat it, and you just keep repeating it consistently. It's that consistency that builds on itself and creates real, lasting autonomy. The formula is so simple, but man, it is unbelievably powerful.
This next quote really made me rethink the whole idea of discipline. Patience is not passive. It is strategic. See, it's not about just sitting around and waiting for something to happen. It's an active thing. It's about strategically making choices today that build the future you actually want.
All right, let's pull all of this together. Let's create a practical blueprint for freedom. How do we take these timeless principles and actually apply them in the modern world? A world that, let's be honest,
is pretty much designed from the ground up to work against us.
So here it is, your checklist for the modern wealth mindset. First, start viewing purchases by their long-term impact, not just for immediate comfort. Second, use technology for productivity, not just to flex on social media. Third, and this is a big one, measure your progress by your net worth, not by your lifestyle. Next, replace impulse with actual planning. And finally, treat your personal finances like a business, because at the end of the day, that's exactly what they are.
So, let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways here? Just remember this. Wealth is built by your choices, not by appearances. Freedom comes from the margin you create, not from having excess stuff. The discipline you have today literally creates the options you have tomorrow. And never ever forget this. Quiet consistency will always outperform loud consumption. Every single time.
And I'll just leave you with this one final thought that really says it all. The goal isn't to look wealthy. The goal is to live free.